Hi, thank you for stopping by. My name is Natalie. I drop videos every week on health, wellness, and eco-friendly living. If you're into this sort of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This video is a continuation of a conversation we've been having about how to build self-confidence when you're living with a chronic illness. If you haven't seen part one and part two, I'll recommend that you go and check it out. There's some really fun tips in there. So we're just going to keep that theme going all month long, as this is Lupus Awareness Month as well as Mental Health Awareness Month. So oftentimes, a lot of the emotional issues that we have, it's been my experience, can come from the way that we think about things and the way that we move through the world. So when we're able to make changes with some of that, how we think about a problem and how we behave, oftentimes the way that we feel about ourselves also follows suit. So let's dive right into my next tip. Number one. I want you to get used to questioning. I want you to get used to questioning, ideas and beliefs that you hold that actually aren't true. A lot of my healing came from really questioning some of the beliefs that were taught to me as a child. Where did this idea come from that I needed to always be working in order to feel worthy? Where did this idea come from that, me resting and relaxing was me being lazy? Where did this idea come from that if I wasn't doing the most and everywhere at once and nowhere at the same time and doing a trillion things at once, if I wasn't juggling all these things, all these balls in the air, that I wasn't doing enough? Who sent me that message? When did I receive that message? And how does that pattern show up in my life? I've had to really do a lot of digging with regards to messages I received in my childhood and how those messages kind of imprinted into my psyche, and how I have continued to relive some of these internalized stereotypes that really don't help me be the very best version of me that I know I can be. So it's really important to recognize some beliefs that we have that keep us from happiness and from feeling secure in our lives, and question them, challenge them, think about them critically, remove them or isolate them from your childhood and the nostalgia that you may have about childhood, and put them under a microscope and truly examine them. Where did I get this message? Who gave it to me? In what ways do I act it out? And how has that message contributed to my well being? Or how has that message harmed me over time? Unfortunately, we don't live in a vacuum. All of us come from a particular set of people, culture, language, country, and a lot of these messages that come from society can deeply impact us. And failure to recognize how this kind of macro system and its messaging impacts us on an individual level is kind of like not really seeing the full picture, because all that is happening isn't just happening inside of me, it's also happening out there. So the more you can learn to name what's out there, question what's out there, judge it, and really examine it critically and think about it critically, and the more you can poke holes into these messages are going to be more inclined to have less power over you, which means that you're going to be feeling more secure. Because when people try to throw these messages at you, you're simply going to say no, reject them, and move on with what you know to be the truth for you. Once you get in tune with the fact that a lot of these messages have been fed to all of us, you realize you don't actually have to compare yourself to other people. You don't have to compete. You don't have to try to also put other people down because you received a different message than they received. A lot of this is about recognizing the ways in which you're living in your own illusion, and how those illusions, those thoughts, those limiting self beliefs are really preventing you from waking up to the reality of your real life. That's really what it's about. Once you tap into that zone, what's happening with others will be so boring to you. Number two. Number two, show yourself kindness. Many of us women have been hardwired to be kind to everybody else but ourselves. It's really important that we give ourselves the same compassion, if not more, than we give others. One of my favorite statements is that you are deserving of your own love. You know, More than anybody, you need it the most. You're the one generating it, you're the one creating it. Why aren't you feeding yourself? Why aren't you filling your own cup? Why aren't you giving yourself that understanding, that compassion, that patience? We can be so hard on ourselves and yet so forgiving of other people when, they're misbehaving. Cut yourself some slack, give yourself some love, give yourself some compassion. Instead of being the voice in your head that berates you at every turn, learn to speak back to that voice. Learn to stand up to that voice. That old witch in your head that wants you to be miserable, I need you to stand up to her. I need you to speak back to her. I need you to tell her to go to hell. And then I need you to start feeling good about yourself. When you've grown up with a lot of negativity, it can sometimes happen without even you recognizing that you're wrapped up in negative self-talk, and that you're constantly putting yourself down in your head, and you're constantly judging yourself, and you're constantly judging yourself, you're constantly not being kind to yourself, you're being harsh with yourself, you're handling yourself rough. How do you have all this love and compassion for everybody else but yourself? You need to investigate that. And then you need to work on shutting up that voice and actually hearing your heart speak to yourself, because your heart wants you to be well. And chastising yourself is not how you're going to get there. Watch how you speak to yourself. Speak to yourself as somebody that you care about and somebody that you love. Number three, if you haven't already explored this idea of holistic healing, I would encourage you to get into it. That's another thing that's really helping me with my recovery is holistic healing. Basically making sure that I'm not just focusing on Western medicine and taking pills. I'm doing other things to expand, my wellness. So it's not just about health, it's about overall well-being. There are lots of things that you can do to really ground yourself when you find these like emotions are overwhelming you and taking over you. You can do grounding exercises. You can go for a walk. You can do a meditative walk. You can do meditation by itself, meditation in the woods. You can practice mindfulness. You can practice conscious living. There is so much more to health than our body. Anything that helps realign that whole mind, body, and soul connection for you, you want to nurture that. A lot of these practices, which, many of them originate from Eastern religion and Eastern culture, can really have a profound impact on allowing you to reconnect with yourself emotionally and really ground yourself in your energy. It can also assist you with being more aware of where you are energetically and really asking for help with getting your energy back to where it needs to be. So, the main thing is making sure that you're connecting whatever modality you choose, whatever exercise you choose, make sure that it's one that allows you to connect how you feel in your body with how you feel in your heart. And then like what you think about it. So, let's not separate your body from the rest of your being. We want to bring that mind, that body, and that soul together. There's so much power in healing holistically. The next tip is to really decrease the people pleasing activities. I know many of us were raised that way, myself included. I always love to tell people that I am a recovered people pleaser, because when you're born female, it's almost like ingrained in you to like say yes and to not say no and to do whatever is asked of you. And so much so that a lot of us don't even live in our bodies anymore. Like some of us just live in like other people's perception of us, and we make our decisions so people will see us in one way or another, as opposed to making our decisions from our heart. So our lives are no longer heart led, they're led by other people's opinions and not wanting to be looked at in a negative way by others. So we completely leave ourselves emotionally, like we abandon ourselves just to give in to other people. I want you to be aware of the ways in which you do that to yourself. Want you to be aware of the ways in which you violate or disrespect yourself every time you do that, and get that power back. Take your power back. When you're asked to do something that you don't want to do, that doesn't make you feel comfortable, that you don't have time to do, simply say no and stand on it. Mean it. Do not allow other people's wants and needs dictate the quality of your life, especially now that you're living with a chronic illness. You're a spoonie now, so you have to be very aware of your energy level throughout the day. And it's really important that you be on top of that because nobody else lives in your body. So if you don't do a good job of monitoring how you're really feeling, then how do you keep your disease from progressing? You have to take care of yourself. So your health has to be your priority. So that means pleasing other people has to be off the table. Your focus right now is on pleasing you. And you do that by taking really good care of yourself. Loving on yourself, being kind to yourself. These are the things that you want to focus on. Giving yourself compassion, giving yourself love, giving yourself patience, nurturing. And if you decide to, give away your energy to people, make sure you're giving your energy to people that feed your soul and that you're not seeking connections that deplete you. Your energy level is already like naturally going to be low. So you definitely don't want to surround yourself with people that are energy vultures, people that are only in your life to come to take from you. These people have to be cast out of the circle, and you have to make sure that you have strong boundaries around yourself because your well-being is now your priority and you're the mama in charge. So you have to take care of your body, you have to take care of your heart, your soul, and your mind. This is all in your hands now. So be kind, okay? Be kind to yourself first. Please yourself before you please others. You deserve pleasing too, you know? And lastly, I want you to continue to big yourself up. Earlier, I mentioned being aware of those negative self-talks in your head, the thought in your head that tells you you're not good enough, you're not enough, you'll never be enough, you're not this, you're not that, you're never going to do this, like the negative voice. So, in this next step, I don't just want you to acknowledge it and speak back to it, but I also want you to nurture positive thoughts about yourself and about your life. I want you to nurture thoughts that make you feel competent and strong. So, one game, as an example, that I like to play is every time I have a negative thought, I think a positive thought to counteract that. It's a game that I play with myself in my head all the time. And the goal is to achieve balance, you know? Your self esteem is very important, and only you can raise it. Only you can practice, only you can implement practices to help raise that. And a good way to raise that is to feel competent, to feel secure, to feel confident, to feel strong. So, whenever you have negative self talk, practice positive self talk, practice feeling confident, and go out there and pursue things that make you feel confident because you're mastering new things. Just because you have lupus doesn't mean your life is over. You can still continue to set goals. Lupus does not mean anything about how far you can take your life. It's up to you within the limitation of your situation to set goals that are realistic that you can fully pursue and that can make you feel fulfilled. Even though we live in a society that is often very critical of us, very judgmental of us, that wants us to feel miserable, and there's so much negativity everywhere to fill, an entire world and then some, we don't have to choose to stay in that energy. It's up to us to choose to rise higher, to choose to not listen to those voices, to choose to still go for the things we want, to choose to ignore that negative voice in our head, to choose to just replace those with positive voices and positive things, to choose to reconnect with our body, our mind, our heart, to choose to please ourselves before we're focused on pleasing other people. All these things are within our control. All these things are choices that we can make. I promise you, if you get in the habit of prioritizing these exercises that I've mentioned and that we've been talking about since the first part of this series, you're going to notice your level of self-confidence go up. And it's not that the disease itself is going to be healed, but you're going to feel more secure. And the more secure you can feel in your skin, the better. So what do you think of those tips? Leave your comments in the box below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to shop any of my sustainable fashion pieces, you can check them out at styledunder.com. And of course, you can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram if you're into fashion content. I produce a lot of fashion content. I have another channel called Styled Under that is all fashion content. Until next time, you take care of yourselves, okay? Au revoir!